What is up, guys? It's the Sound Alchemist, and today I'm back to talk about Warhammer 40k. Now, yesterday we had a huge snowstorm, and because of that, Gersh1 and I could not meet to do For the Greater Wall. So in the meantime, I decided to put up some polls for you guys to answer and I can talk about. And one of those said polls was, what is your favorite aspect of the Warhammer hobby? And as of this recording, I got 4.6 thousand votes. So let's go from the bottom up and we'll talk about it. So, coming in at number 2, you guys went with something else entirely different than the poll. Now that's a little bit different, so we'll come back to that. And the next bottom is collecting. So 3% of you guys said that you just love collecting the models, the miniatures for 40k. And I can see that, because when it comes to Warhammer 40k, or GW in general, they probably have the best looking sculpts and models anywhere. When you look at like third party companies, their models may not always be 100% like super detailed, or some of them do look amazing, don't get me wrong. Like look at the models for Creature Caster. Those are amazing. The demons are amazing. But overall, I think GW probably has the highest quality and the best looking models to reproduce. Because sometimes you get like mold lines, you get like resin bubbles, some models are even metal. But throughout the years, GW has really been honing their craft and making their models look pretty badass. In my opinion, Age of Sigmar trumps the models for Warhammer 40k, because when you look at the variety, the detail, and just overall how badass they look, oftentimes I feel like they win in contrast to those of 40k, and yes, even Forge World. But that's just my biased opinion, and that's only 3% of you guys going with the collecting aspect of 40k. Next up, with only 5%, is actually playing the game of Warhammer 40k, be it, like I said, 40k, Kill Team, or Age of Sigmar. That came at a huge surprise to me, because when you think of 40k, what I think of is the tabletop. I think of playing against your opponent in a strategy-based game. And when you look at like the Warhammer community, a lot of their articles are based on like the game itself, point values, missions, tournaments, that kind of thing. You do have a little bit of like modeling and painting and stuff, but I feel like overall, when you think of 40k, you think of the tabletop game, and only 5% of you guys in this poll of 4.6k people love the actual game of it. That's crazy. Because when you think of like all the other aspects of the hobby, I would feel like the game itself should be number 1. But no, that's like I'm still trying to warp my head around that. I guess I could see why, because not many people can play the game of 40k right now because of COVID. To play 40k, you can't just buy a box set and start playing right out of the box. You need a lot. You need money to get the army. You gotta buy the codex, you gotta buy the rule book, you gotta buy your models, clip them, glue them, paint them, and then you gotta find another person that has done the exact same thing in order for you guys to play a game of 40k. But it doesn't start there, because then you gotta build your terrain and find a place to play and figure out the game type, the point value. There's a lot. There is a lot to it to actually get your minis on the table and play a game. So I could see why that falls short. Let me know if you guys agree. But if you do love playing the game, let me know how much of a hassle it was for you to actually get your first game and actually know what you're doing. But anyway, after this 5%, we come up to 13%, and that is the painting or modeling aspect of the hobby. Here I would also put like conversions and whatnot. And when you look at a bunch of YouTubers, a lot of people play the game. There's no question about that. But there's also a ton of 40k YouTubers that are solely based on painting creating terrain, modeling, making awesome conversions, and that's a big part of the hobby too. Because when you create your characters of 40k, you don't just build them and paint them, you can also put a lot of different aspects to it. Have your own color scheme, have your own theme, maybe kit bash, maybe you like the look of the Tau battlesuits, but they're not grim dark enough for you. So you have to find some like chaos parts and really make it your own. Or maybe you've created a whole lore for your army and no model in 40k has what you're looking for, so now you got to use green stuff and create it from scratch. So the painting, the modeling aspect really has a lot of personality to it, and that's where you really get to stem away from like the basic cookie cutter aspect of like creating armies. And it makes sense that 13% of you agree with that. But here comes the winner, and it's a unanimous winner. Coming in at a whopping 78% of you guys enjoy the lore of 40k the most. And maybe that's biased because we're mainly a lore channel and you guys watch One Mind Syndicate for the lore, but the lore is literally what makes 40k Warhammer 40k. And going into the comment section of this community post, Bastiat C says it best. The lore is the only part that I can afford. That is hilarious because yes, 40k is not cheap at all. If you don't have a job, if you weren't born with money, like chances are Warhammer 40k is just too expensive to play. Like it's so much easier to get into like Pokemon, Magic the Gathering, just buy a starter or start collecting set or something like that, and you can play the game. But not with 40k. This is an investment, both time and money. So yeah, the lore is readily available throughout many sources. They give you the White Dwarf. You can find it in codices. It's all over the place. And I think the lore is really what makes 40k 40k, like I said before. Like, it is the most highly detailed, like most thought out and finished piece of sci-fi fiction lore that I've encountered, even regarding Star Wars. Because with like Star Wars and Dune and Star Trek and all that, like there's lore out there, but I feel like in comparison to 40k, like 40k just, it's more rich. But yeah, I mean, I just wanted to give you a quick video on that. The best aspect of 40k for its players is unanimously the lore, followed by painting and modeling, and then the tabletop game itself, and finally collecting. So let me know if you guys agree with the results of the poll, and let me know what your favorite aspect of 40k is. If it's something else, please let me know down in the comments below, and we'll go from there. Maybe it's list building. But that's all I got for today, guys. This has been the Sound Alchemist, part of One Mind Syndicate, and I'll see you then. Peace.